Rings of Power Episode 8 review. We begin with the wizard travelling alone until he follows a Harfoot, believing it to be Nori. It then shapeshifts into one of the three women following him, as they believe he is Sauron. It then cuts to a Region as Galadriel and on a death's door Halbrand arrive, whilst Celebrimbor and Elrond discuss what they can do with the little mithril they have. Elrond is surprised to see Galadriel arrive, as she should be in Valinor, let alone with an injured man. She asks Celebrimbor if they can help him after 6 days riding without rest. Elrond and Galadriel talk as Halbrand is being healed, and ask how they both came to be in a Region. Elrond informs Galadriel of the fading away of the elves. Halbrand, who was near death 5 seconds ago, wanders into Celebrimbor's workshop. Halbrand asks what they have been working on and gives advice on smithing to the greatest smith alive, saying they should combine the mithril with other ores to stretch it out if they do not have enough, and says his suggestion was a gift. In Numenor, as Pharazôn has artisans, including Isildur's sister for some reason, among them paint the king on his deathbed. They give each 1 hour alone with the king to do this. During her 1 hour alone with the king, he awakens and believing her to be Miriel, and talks about there still being time to return to the old ways. He opens a secret passageway and Isildur's sister decides to enter and uncovers the Palantir. Gil-galad is informed of Celebrimbor's plan to create a crown of unbounded power from the mithril which he would wear. Gil-galad believes it is perilous, all this power being in one being's hands. Celebrimbor reveals it was Halbrand's suggestion, or gift if you will, that was the key to unlocking the dam in his mind.
Not of strength, but of spirit. Not of the flesh, but over flesh. This is a power of the unseen world.
Gil-galad gives them 3 months to try their plan. Halbrand is now helping Celebrimbor in his workshop as they forge the new power. Galadriel is now suspicious of Halbrand and asks an elf to search for the royal bloodlines of the Southlands in their catacombs, but to keep it secret. A game with the wizard as the 3 women try to convince him he is Sauron. The wizard's powers go out of control, so they knock him out and bind him as the Harfoots watch on, but then look away to make a plan, and when they look back, they only see 2 women binding the wizard. The Harfoots distract the 2 women, while Nori and the leader go to free the wizard. While they are doing this, the mother stumbles across the real wizard. The wizard they are releasing is a fake. I have to ask, why did they go through this whole charade? If they knew the Harfoots are there, they could easily just kill them and be done with it. The Harfoot leader gets a knife in his side, Nori gets away, and the real wizard arrives. A magic battle begins. The wizard is overpowered. The Harfoots throw a couple of stones at the woman who beat him and steal its staff, as they are obviously more of a threat than the wizard. They then give the staff to the wizard, who then saves the Harfoots from being well cooked by fire, unfortunately. They all then come to realise he is not Sauron. He then defeats the 3 women who turn into wraiths. The leader dies from his wounds as they wait for the sun to come up, which happens straight away, as that would have been awkward to wait for hours. To the Númenóreans as they make their voyage home, as Miriel is learning to hide her blindness. Elendil and Miriel talk about how they are both part of the faithful and willing to say their convictions to the end to make the price they paid worth it. They arrive at Númenor to find black flags flying to signify the king is dead. In Eregion, as the experiment to force Mithril into other ores fails, as the Mithril is too proud. Galadriel thinks they should take a break, but this gives Halbrand a hint and makes him realise they are doing it wrong, and that they should coax the Mithril instead. The elf Galadriel sent off on the secret mission arrives with a scroll. Galadriel reads the scroll as Halbrand informs her that they now need to make 2 objects instead of 1. Galadriel then confronts Halbrand, asking, "Who are you? Who are you really?" That there is no king in the Southlands, that their line has been broken 1,000 years ago.
I told you I found it on a dead man.
No, you convinced Miriel to save the men of Middle-earth.
You convinced her. I wanted to remain in Númenor. I have been awake since before the breaking of the first silence. In that time, I've had many names.
Sauron enters Galadriel's mind and appears as her brother to persuade her that Sauron was working towards peace to heal the land just like her fellow elves and to let the work continue. Galadriel rejects the illusion of her brother, so Sauron then takes her back to the raft. Sauron tells Galadriel that she knows he is her friend. After Morgoth's defeat, his corruption and influence were gone and he could see the light again. To ever be forgiven what he had done, he must heal Middle-earth. Sauron then tries to convince Galadriel that they have a future together and that only he can see her worth, while all others rejected her. She will be a queen and he her king, and with the light of Galadriel by his side, they will save Middle-earth. Galadriel rejects Sauron's proposal and tries to kill him as he gets a few more jibes in before he leaves. Elrond finds Galadriel in the water and wakes her from the illusion. She proceeds to attack Elrond, threatening to kill him, believing he is Sauron. She then rushes off to Celebrimbor's workshop to find if the objects have been completed and if Halbrand is there. They ask what happened to her and where's Halbrand, but Galadriel refuses to tell them the truth to protect herself. Galadriel decides to go ahead with the creation of the new power, but instead of 2, they need 3 for balance.
One will always corrupt. 2 will divide.
But with 3, there is balance.
And for this power to only be for the elves. But Galadriel must use her brother's dagger for its creation, as it's of the purest gold and silver of Valinor. The Harfoots leave the grove and Nori goes with the wizard, who turns out to be Gandalf. What a shocker! It cuts to Galadriel giving her brother's dagger for the creation of the 3 elven rings. During this, Elrond goes back to where he found Galadriel and discovers the scroll. After reading it, Elrond goes to ask Galadriel for the truth, just as the rings have been finished. The 3 elven rings then are replaced with Sauron looking upon Mount Doom. So that was episode 8, the series finale. Let us start with the only part I liked, and that was Galadriel being told by Sauron that was all her fault and that he would not be there if not for her, and even proving it to her. Now as for the negative. But let's not be here all day, shall we? The Harfoots are once again pointless and dragged out for far too long. The whole thing this episode was, look, the wizard is actually good, and it's Gandalf. The fight scene was mostly a repurposed Saruman and Gandalf fight from the Fellowship of the Ring. The Numenor scene, when they leave the king alone with Isildur's sister, would not happen, as you would have had at least one person there with the king at all times. It's like they had no idea what to do with this sister character they created, and they've just kind of shoved her in. Now for all the scenes in Eregion. Halbrand survived for 6 days wounded when he could barely get on a horse, and instantly healing should have been a red flag. Him giving advice to Celebrimbor, the greatest smith alive, is silly. He would already know the things Halbrand is telling him, but the writers could not think of a clever way for him to be there otherwise. Then somehow Halbrand helps in the creation, which is strange. There must be hundreds of other smiths there, more skilled than some random human they don't know, and it would surely have been a secret how to create something so powerful.
Power that is all but unbounded.
As for the whole broken bloodline scene, has no one heard of illegitimate children before? Halbrand could just use that to get out the whole problem. Sauron showing up as Galadriel's dead brother was weird, as a way to persuade her he was good. They make it that Sauron, the Dark Lord, is a bitter rejected man, and that his reason for wanting to destroy Middle-earth is Galadriel rejecting him.
And into this ring he poured his cruelty, his malice, and his will to dominate all life.
When if Galadriel had accepted his proposal, it would not have been the worst thing. It would also have not have then been
one ring to rule them all.
As it would have been a pair, by how Sauron puts it, that she would have been his light and his moral compass, and by how they have made Sauron in love with Galadriel, you could take a lot of what he said at face value. When you think about it, Galadriel is that amazing that she made Sauron subservient to her wishes and that he needs her more than almost anything else.
You bind me to the light, and I bind you to power.
So Galadriel would be the true ruler. So then, would that even make Sauron the Dark Lord anymore?
Not dark. Not with you at my side.
Then after this, Galadriel hid Sauron from everyone when you think the best thing to do would be to hunt him down right now. The threat would then be gone. So stupid and selfish of her. Once again, Galadriel is just a terrible character. This episode is another terrible addition to this series. It's not Lord of the Rings, it's bad fan fiction. And when you take the part that's supposedly Lord of the Rings out, you're just left with a mundane, tedious fantasy. Elrond says it best.
Cast it into the fire! Destroy